Well, hello, welcome all. That's the opening siren of the podcast. We haven't even thought of a name for this podcast, have we?
Nah, we'll get around to it eventually.
We'll suss out a name for it, but this is the podcast, the first ever one for Kappa's League. Very aptly named, the commissioner. We're here with him right now. How are you feeling about the league?
I'm excited. Couple of interesting moves done in the draft. I'm feeling pretty confident with my team and excited for the year ahead.
That's beautiful. So we're gonna talk through a few things today. Let's just start with draft day. Maddie hosted it, coach of Who's Your Daddy. How did the day go? I was unfortunately not there and I missed out, but looked like a bit of fun. Run us through the day.
Day went well. Most of us got there before the draft, few just in time. But I think there was 8 of us there in the end. A few missed out, and their teams reflected that. But have a few beers, bit of a laugh. It was a good day. The draft went well.
Yeah, did you have a few drinking games through picks and stuff?
There was a couple, but we didn't really follow them too closely. A couple of over-unders on player picks, where they'd go. Everyone had their own a player written down, and when they got drafted, that person had to do a beer, but we didn't actually get around to it. But it was a bit of a laugh. It made it interesting.
Who was the laughing stock of the day? Hey, who was the one that was there?
The one that was there?
Yeah,
the one that wasn't there was you. we had event cards, and one of them was if Angus drafts more than 3 Essendon players, someone had to smash a beer. Do you know how many you drafted in the end?
Oh, I think it was along the lines of 7.
So you had 7 out of 15 players. 7 were Essendon.
Who did it? Who copped it? Who copped the drinking?
I think Nick had the card, but yeah, in the end, because we were going to give that drink to you, but you weren't there, so we just sort of let that one slide in the end. The laughing stock of picks, there were a couple of interesting ones. Harry, again, he wasn't there. Tyler took some funky ones. Nick took a ruckman quite early, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
Who was the laughing stock of on the piss? I feel like you'd be up there with one of the MVP performances on the piss. Did anyone get out of control? Or?
No one got too loose. Nick was probably the drunkest by the end, but they ended up everyone out anyway. So
yeah,
we're off to the different 21st or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Let's start to look at this draft in more depth. Now, I know you've put together a bit of winners and losers, so let's go through the winners first. Who do you think got some steals in this draft?
Yeah, so I've got 3 steals in my mind, 3 players that for where they were drafted are going to be absolute bargains. I'm going to start with Steve taking James Sicily at pick 24. To me, that's a clear top 3 defender. He's going to improve with these new kick-in rules where they're pretty much going to count as extra disposals. You know, that's an extra 6 to 8 disposals a game probably if he plays on. That's extra points all day. I would have had him around pick 12 to 16. He ended up going as, I think, the 3rd defender, which is right, but I probably would have had him a little bit earlier than he did go.
So what is this new rule? So it's from the kick out. They don't have to kick it to themselves to play on. They can just run out.
Yeah, you can just run out, and the champion data and Supercoach, a kick from a kick in doesn't count as a disposal, but if you play on, it does. Coupled with the fact that the man on the mark is now a further 10 metres back. So really, players, as you can see in the JLT, are just getting the ball, sprinting at the man on the mark, getting an extra 10 metres, and then booting it long. It's counting as extra disposals, which just means extra points to blokes to take kick-ins. Jake Lloyd, James Sicily, Cade Simpson, those sort of fellas are going to see a real improvement this year in their scoring. So James Sicily at 24 was a real steal.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's a big boy, but he's moved around the field a bit, but he's starting to come good. So who got him? Sorry, Steve.
Steve took him there. I think that's his defender, number 1 defender, and it was the 2nd pick. He had to wait from pick 1 to 24, so he got Gawn and Sicily with his first 2 picks.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It was the ruckman straight off the board. Was that expected to see all the 2 big names off the board, or did you think some of the big midfielders would slip through there?
Yeah, so I'll go to my first reach, which again was Steve, taking Max Gawn with pick 1. He got the first steal in the first reach. Look, Gawn and Grundy are 25 points better than the next ruckman, which is significant, but, you know, Melbourne added Bruce on the off-season, and you just don't know what effect that's going to have on Gawn. If it reduces his minutes in the ruck, it's going to affect his scoring. There's just an unknown factor there. So I thought Danger was a clear number one. He averaged, I think, 25 points or 20 points more than the next highest averaging forward.
Yeah, you drafted him in the forward there. That would have been.
You drafted him forward,
Yeah.
you're laughing. Or Grundy, because I think Grundy will be the clear number one ruckman. But yeah, I would have had Gawn 5 to 10. But Steve taking him at 1, it's not a bad pick because he's going to get you probably 120 points a game. But I think there was better value there. So
Yeah. All right, another one of the steals. Who are we looking for?
the next deal I thought, and this man snaked his pick for me because I was going to take him with my next pick. Polv took Jack Darling with pick 65.
Pick 65. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
He drafted him as the 13th best forward, and I think he's probably going to end the season in the top 6 to 8. He had a streak last season where he averaged about 130 points over a 6-game stretch. A couple of injury-affected games sort of brought him down, and he had a slow end to the season. But I think at pick 65, where he got him, he's going to be a real threat there. So happy with that for Polv, and it's not even his number one forward.
No, the Brown Cows. Don't know where he got this name from, but don't mind it, the old Cows. His team is looking all right, and I suppose we'll go through more of them when we come to the matchups this week.
Yeah.
But I don't mind it, except I'm not too stoked with St Kilda players this year. Not many St Kilda players were picked, and no surprises there. They look like a shit team.
No, well, we'll get to the one that he's got in a little bit because there's something interesting there. But the next reach, so we've got 3 each here. The next reach was Tyler, who took Lockie Hunter with pick 43. Lockie Hunter, he's the fourth best midfielder at the Western Bulldogs, and he's Tyler's second best midfielder.
Oh, that is terrible.
Just to give you an idea of how early he was taken, Seb Ross, Dane Beams, Dane Zorko all went after Lockie Hunter.
The Mumford sausage is right. I reckon he's been having a few similar things to Mumford himself, and obviously he's out a few weeks. But
this is the problem with taking a defender with your first pick. You're hamstrung with who's available next, and you get stuck with Mitch Duncan as your best midfielder, who's in terms of teams.
Mitch Duncan, Lockie Hunter, Liam Shields, and Trent Cotchin.
Yep. That's one of the
What
worst midfields.
is he doing? I mean, and you don't even have coverage on the bet. Like Cal Pepper or Jack Martin could rotate through, but that is.
And you look at that and think he must have a really strong forward or defence or something, but he's got Whitfield and Lloyd in defence, but his ruck's poor. His forwards aren't the best. You wonder what he was actually thinking. I think the man
was he there?
He was there. The man doesn't drink beers often. After about 3, his judgment was clouded.
Oh, I tell you what, this is just as bad as the teams that weren't there.
Yeah, it is average. My next steal, the last steal, was Matt taking David Mundy. A pick after Polv taking Darling was with a big pick 66. Same story, really. He's going to be a top 6 to 8 forward. No Neil. He's going to have increased midfield minutes. He's got some crazy durability. Hasn't played less than 19 games in the last 8 seasons. That's each season, obviously. And he'll rarely get you a score under 80. He's consistent for 90 to 110 each week. That's a great pick. And I tried to trade him off Map. He's not having a bar of it. Sensibly so.
Surely he's getting on though. How long's he been?
He's old. I think he's almost 30. He's going to be 34 this season, but I don't know.
Who's running that show now with Neil out? Now with Neil out, who's running that midfield now? Because I feel like Mundy could. Oh yeah, Fife.
It's a question. I think who's going to replace him? Is it going to be one of the young kids? They've got a few of them. I think in the short term, it's going to be either Mundy or Michael Walters. They both sort of play that, they get midfield minutes. One of them's going to get an increase in it. I think it'll be Mundy.
Is Fife going to play a bit of forward, or will he play midfield? Is he going to be a bit Dangerfield-esque? Or?
No, not to that extent. He might rest forward, but not to the extent of a Danger.
So not a bad pick there.
Mundy. And the last reach, and this is the most hilarious one to me. Nick Lee taking Michael Hurley, pick 27. That's pretty much the start of the 3rd round. He's drafted him as the 4th best defender. He finished last season as the 11th best defender, but it gets worse. So when Essendon started to peak towards the end of the season, the second half, they started to win games. He went to a lockdown sort of role, and his scoring really dropped off. So the last half of the season, he was actually the 24th best defender, and he's just been drafted as the 4th.
You know.
You're an Essendon man. I don't know. Do you think Hurley's going to go back to the
I love
rebound
Hurls.
or
I love Hurls. Absolutely love him.
Mhm.
But he is a key defender now.
yeah?
Like he has been playing off man and stuff a bit, but especially now with this 6-6-6 rule,
Yeah.
he's not going to be able to float back and take a few intercept marks straight off the bounce. I think he's a lockdown defender. I think he's an absolute idiot. I think there's better defenders from Essendon alone.
Really? Who would you? Oh, you took McGrath. Though.
McGrath, mate. He's coming out.
Oh god, here we go.
Playing midfield now. I think
apparently.
it could have been one of your H's. I was surprised not to see it on your H's. To be
I
honest,
didn't mind McGrath as a pick. It's a speculative one, and I'm not gonna knock it. So yeah, no, but Hurley was a poor one.
Yeah. All right, let's have a look. So that we've gone through the draft. Then we've got some winners and losers. We've got a bit of
I'll
a
race through this quickly.
order. We'll just go through it a bit.
So my 3 draft winners. The first one was Palfrey. He got Matt Crouch at M3, Callum Mills at D3, and Jack Billings at F3. And I know Angus isn't hot on Jack Billings, but 2017 he was a top 6 forward. He had a bad season last season, but at F3, that's a top 30. All you need is your forward to be a top 30 forward, and you're laughing. And I think Billings is going to hit that quite comfortably. So
Yeah, I just struggle. It's you're not going to see the ball down in the forward line.
yeah.
Much.
The hope is he
exact
plays
percentage.
midfield, I think. But he's the biggest downhill skier in the competition. Hands
Absolutely.
down.
Absolutely.
And if St Kilda wins games, he will score well. So but I think they'll stagnate. I don't think he's going to hit his 2017 heights, but I think he's definitely going to do better than 2018. The next one, Matt, his forward line to me is the best forward line in the league quite comfortably. Gray, Mundy and Green. Very impressive. He's got all the lines covered well. He didn't sacrifice anything to get that forward line, and he's got good depth on the bench. And the third winner was Jake, who's got probably the second best forward line with Heaney and Dunkley, who, they ended up top 5 forwards last year. Every chance they do it again this year. Tim Taranto at M4 is in line for a breakout season.
Geez, Taranto at M4, it's not a bad
Yeah, it's a
pick by
great
JTFC.
Probably the
there.
best M4, well, with the exception of Rory Sloane, but probably the best M4 in the league. Witherden at D3, who's also got the scope to be a top 12 defender, which puts him at D1. So I think he's got some real steals in the back end of his on field in his position. So yeah, I don't know if anything there pops out to you, the winners.
Nah, they all look pretty strong. I mean, we'll go through a bit of this through the matchups, but they look fantastic. Man.
Yeah.
Hard to beat, but it's still early in the season. I mean,
It's all speculative. At this
yeah,
point.
absolutely. Anything could happen. We're going by week format anyway, so they could have an off week and lose to a low score. It's
true.
who knows? But having a look at your draft losers, and it makes me laugh. Apart from myself, Andy, and Lamb, who we got some auto selection, so it is what it is. But Harry and Tyler, we've mentioned them earlier.
There's 2 that stood out to me looking at the teams today,
Oh,
a couple of days after the draft.
Phillips. Talk us through Phillips.
Okay, and this one, and I'm sure Harry's thinking this is some brilliant, pick as a Collingwood fan, or Tom Phillips, the unheralded.
He's got some inside
That's
knowledge.
it, yeah. He doesn't, all right? There's Pendlebury, Beams, Sidebottom, Treloar, Adams to go to that midfield. And then Grundy, who's essentially a 4th midfielder. That's 6 midfielders ahead of Tom Phillips. Are you really going to tell me that Phillips is going to get his 30 touches ahead of one of those 6? No chance. And then there's there's Crispin Howe in the back line who are rebounds, and they might rack up 30 touches. To me, Phillips, at absolute best, will be the 9th best scorer in that Collingwood team. And that's an M4. He shouldn't be on anywhere. He shouldn't be on someone's bench. He should be deep down on that waiver list, who you just might happen to come across one day. But yeah, to me, that Phillips. And then the same thing with Josh Smith, I think. Smith as an F3 from Collingwood. Same thing. There's just too many scorers at Collingwood. Too many points to be shared around. They're just not going to... They're not going to get him. There's going to be nothing left for Phillips and Smith.
I feel like we ended up in similar situations, Harry and I, based on the fact that, he was, I think he was out in the piss anyway, doing something at the races or something.
He was. But he was
drafting.
He wasn't auto-selecting.
And then but like I've ended up with a lot of Essendon players because
True.
I think I bumped them up in my rankings
Yeah.
on the thing,
Makes
and so
sense.
you just end up with them because you've been watching them the pre-season, you like the look of them, but you know what, it's gonna be tough because you can't bank on your team going so well. You've got to have a nice balanced team.
And Collingwood will be a top 4 team, but there's just too many elite players there but to Harry's credit, and this has nothing to do with Harry, it was Nick Lee, but he's got Michael Walters in a trade. He's lost Jaeger O'Meara, but he's got Michael Walters, which I think allows him to put Josh Smith on the bench. You know, I hope so anyway. So
before we move on to matchups, should we talk about this trade? We've had our first trade, everyone.
Yeah.
Well done, boys.
Do you want to bring it up? Because I think
we don't mind a bit of trading. This is what we're here for. It's good to see these boys being active.
Oh, wow.
And I think Harry realised he was in a bit of strife. And like myself, we've been doing a bit of digging, a bit of calling, a bit of making some moves. I know yourself, you've been pretty active. And this is what we want to see. Big trades happening. And so the first one, we've got Diego O'Meara being traded for Brad Crouch, Michael Walters, and Aaron Francis. Whose side of the trade are you on here?
This is, I respect a man who likes a player and goes out and gets him. He didn't offer him anything crap. Nick offered Harry overs for Jaeger O'Meara, but he got his man. So I'm going to say it's a win-win. I would be objectively looking at that going, Harry's clearly won that trade.
I'm looking at it going,
Harry has really won that trade.
The hazardous donkeys have lost their fucking marbles.
Yeah.
What? Jaeger O'Meara, I'm not even sure he's going to start round one. I think, isn't he under a bit of an injury cloud?
Oh, no, I think he's all right.
Rumour has it that he's shit. Brad Crouch, Aaron Francis is a breakout contender massively. I'm surprised that Hazard has given him up.
It would be brave to start him. I don't think he's going to start for anyone just yet.
Not yet, but I feel like
he potentially could after 6 or so weeks if he does break out.
But and then Walters, now Aluka Island has got Walters flex player, could play mid or forward, and Brad Crouch, who we don't know what he's going to do this year.
He's had a great JLT.
But he's had a great JLT. And you're looking at him...
A lot of potential there, yeah.
I think bloody Hazard Donkey is off his bloody dial with this trade.
I tend to agree, but I appreciate Nick said straight up, who has Jaeger O'Meara, I want him. He gave up more than he probably needed to, but he's put the first trade out there, and he shows that he means business. He's not going to come and offer you some bullshit trade for a player that he wants. He gave up what he needed to when he got the player, so it may end up paying off if Jaeger O'Meara stars in that Hawthorn midfield averages 110. Crouch could go down with injury. Walters could be stuck in that forward pocket, and Francis could end up on the sidelines with depression again. So could be a real steal for Nick in the end.
Absolutely. But on trades, and we're loving it. We want trades. We love it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to our first waiver wire pickups. We've had a few free agent pickups.
You've.
I've gone out and grabbed Josh Kennedy, who I could not believe wasn't drafted.
He
to show up
may
before
not play round one.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, boy.
I think he's touch and go at the moment. Hope for your sake he does, because he can monster a game. But yeah.
And Bailey Williams in the back line.
Good pick. Again, another breakout contender there.
There's room. I researched on him. Rumours he's coming through the midfield. So
takes kick-outs when he's down back.
So
and that last one, what was that last one?
Oh, I can't even remember.
It was Brett Deledio.
Brett Deledio, lids. He's an absolute hero. I just was thinking GWS without Shield, I don't know. But I had to try something. I'm in a bit of strife. Yeah. So. Had a few too many hours. Well, I was trying to drop a heap of Essendon players. I only got rid of one, so I still have 6. God. So go the Dons.
You're still keeping Danaher, aren't you?
Absolutely. Ugh. Mate, nice. Joey, once he comes back, I'm going to sit on him for a few weeks and hear the rumours, but he's an absolute superstar. Now, let's talk about this trade whole scenario. So, there's been a bit of debate on the group chat. We'll have a bit of action in the chat. Run us through what we're going to do now.
Yeah, so as it stands at the moment, when a trade goes through, 24 hours starts from the following day, 12 p.m., and when that 24 hours passes, then the trade goes through, and in that time, you need to hit, I think, 5 vetoes, so not quite majority, but if 5 people veto it because it's unfair or for whatever reason, then that trade won't go through. What we're going to change it to allow trades to go through a little bit quicker, but still give everyone time to veto it, we're going to change it to commissioner approved. So when a trade when a trade, 2 blokes confirm it, it'll come to me. I'll have the chance to say yes or no, and I'm going to put it in the group with a poll, and if everyone's seen the message and the time passes and everyone's said yes or not enough people have said no, then I'll just approve it and it'll go through straight away.
Yeah, I don't think even chuck a poll up there. Just chuck what the trade is, the details of the trade.
And if you don't
and if anyone objects, they just have to arc up and we can have a debate over it. And look, I know there's been talk of some shady behind the door deals, but
you can see it a mile away if that's the case.
We want to try and we don't want to make this into a who's got the more money or who's got the bigger balls, who'll do the stupidest shit. We want a nice clean comp.
You look at that trade that just went through, and that's obviously quite weighted. I mean, Harry's won that, I think, quite clearly. But that never crossed my mind to even veto that at all. I mean, Nick wanted Jaeger O'Meara, so he gave up. It wasn't the case.
That's not the one you veto. No. It's the
give up mid-season.
Yeah, give up mid-season.
Patrick Cripps
which happens, and that's why we need to sort out a punishment because we don't want this to happen.
We don't.
Because it's fucking bullshit if people give up. And, there's a lot of talk about Andy. Is he the number one give up candidate?
I think so.
I don't think we've spoken about drafting Tom Mitchell in the first round.
I don't really want to touch on it too much. I mean, everyone's seen Andy's team. He's got half of them out for the season. He's got some work to do. I don't know if he's going to do it before the start of the season. I hope he does. I hope he doesn't throw in the towel just yet. I mean, there's plenty of solid players on the waiver wire. He can get a start. I mean, he needs to really pick up speculative picks off the waiver wire. Your Sam Walsh's, just real courageous calls. Hope they break out. Give him some trade currency and get on the board. There are enough sloppy teams in the league that he may steal a couple of wins here and there.
We want you active, Andy, so get amongst it. Make some trades. We're all here to talk. We all want to trade.
Right.
Get amongst it.
Yeah, we're all looking for trades. So,
all right, matchups. So this week, round 1, a few big games coming up. Who's going to get off to a good start?
Well, who have we got first? What's game 1?
We have got Kappa versus Tipping Them In. So Henrik tipping them in versus Kappa. I think this could be a good game. I think it's a real 50-51. I know you're pretty happy with your side.
Yeah.
The Knicks team isn't horrible. He's not, he's...
I think what this comes down to for me is the midfield. I mean, the midfield, you got, 4 of your 11 on-field players. They're going to score the majority of your points. You need to have a good midfield. Nick doesn't. He took Martin with his first pick, Treloar with his second pick, 12 and 13. Treloar is a great pick, but then his next midfielders are Tim Kelly, second-year player, probably should have been selected as a forward. Jack Redden and Dylan Shield, serviceable players for their teams, not Supercoach relevant. So he's coming up against quite a strong midfield. I think he loses that battle. He'll win the rucks. I've got a sloppy ruck, but I think the defenses and forwards, if they just break even, there'll be enough damage done in the midfield where it's probably going to be too much of a deficit for him to overcome. I think I'm going to get that win, but
I think that's the real challenge, which I haven't played Supercoach in a while, but you think these players are great players and they 100%. Get talked about a lot, but are they going to be Supercoach relevant?
That's it.
And that's
right.
I think people like you have played over the last few years. You have having a bit of an advantage that, but we're really going to see who is the impactful players on the thing and on the day and who uses their captain well. Anyway, we'll go to the next Lockie versus Steve. So the Brown Cow Force. Don't mind that name.
Bit of a laugh.
Gresham the Goat.
Yeah.
Shit team name. Gresham is shit. Should have got drafted in the bloody AFLX.
Still grumpy about that.
Stephen May, not happy with you. I should have had the number 1 pick there. But.
So Lockie's got a good team in my mind. Steve's got just a regular team, drafted all right. To me, this one comes down to the forward line, and Steve's forwards are really dependent on. They're going to go big or they're going to go home. They're going to boom or bust. He's got DeGoey, Ben Brown, and Tom Lynch.
Some key forwards.
DeGoey's a big game player. They're going to go 120 or they're going to go 20. Like there's not a ton of middle ground there. Tom Lynch, question mark. He might not even play round 1. I haven't looked at the matchups in AFL, so I don't know if Ben Brown's got an easy one or... I know Collingwood's facing Geelong, and De Goey typically doesn't do amazing against Geelong. So if Steve's forwards don't fire, and this is for any given week, he doesn't win the game, I think.
Just a quick question. I love he's gone and named his team Gresham's Goat and gone and picked it up. Where did he pick him up? Was that did he go out and get him?
I think, no, he's on the bench, isn't he, for Steve? So I don't think he took him in the first 11 rounds.
I'm trying to work out where he took him, but hilarious.
It might be a little bit difficult to do, but no, yeah. Same with Mumford Sausages. Both of them sort of handcuffed themselves. They had to do it. So,
it'd be even funnier if you fucking didn't go and get him.
Sorry, but have you got a tip for the first 2 games?
I'm going to say I think Kappa will take out that first one.
Pretty sure.
I think Steve will get... if Tom Lynch plays, he's playing against Carlton. I reckon he'll...
Wow. That's 150. He scored, I think, 170 or 180 against Carlton last year playing for Gold Coast.
What happens to Rewalt this year?
I think
Jack Rewalt. What with Tom Lynch now in the team? What happens to him?
I think he plays up on the wing, as in he's a centre half forward who roams up on the wing, gets about 15 marks a game. He's a great pick, and I don't remember who got him, but I thought that was a real good pick. Whoever got him, I think he could be a top 10 forward quite comfortably. And then he has the scope to kick 10 goals and score 200.
Ooh, tipping them in got him.
Oh, I'm up against him and against Carlton. Okay. Yeah, there's potential there for a big game. I don't think Lynch and Rewalt can have big games, though. So they've gone from being the sole dominant key forward to now sharing that role. So I don't think they can both kick 7 goals a game and both get 160. So it'll be interesting to see that.
Now, I think this one's going to be a quick one. Luke Island v. Jill Killer. I think it's a Luke Island.
I think Harry's getting out of jail here quite early.
Not the great team, but he's come up with a really nice matchup.
If Andy can field 11 players that are playing and they're not terrible,
it's a miracle.
He's going to need to do some work on the waivers, but I think that it gives him a chance. I mean, Harry's team is not the best. Andy won't have the top end.
Sorry, I'm just looking at Andy's team.
He's got Mitchell, Gaff, Ward not playing.
Doherty's not playing. Isn't that nearly done for the season?
He's out. Franklin's not going to play right away. He's got 6 players on the field.
Oh my god. That man needs to have
Stanley's serviceable. Ryder's not too bad. He's got bench cover there.
He needs to log in and change his team around.
Yeah, but tentatively, not tentatively, Harry's going to get that one quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. Next matchup. Who's your daddy versus I Love Football? So, daddy, Matty.
Yeah.
I think, we all know
yourself in.
I've fucked up the draft.
Yeah.
I think Matty. I'm going to back myself in, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've made some pretty bloody good changes lately. I sold Kennedy off Matt. He was pretty vocal about that as well. He wasn't happy. I hope he comes up, has a massive one.
Yeah, okay. Well, if he plays, that gives you another chance. I'm going to go Matt. As I said earlier, I think Matt's one of the biggest winners on draft day, and you will end up being one of the biggest losers. Not through no fault of your own, but you got some work to do before your team becomes competitive. It may be this week, it may be in 3 weeks' time, but some trading, some waivers, some free agents. And in the meantime, I think Matt's going to be one of the teams to beat. So, yeah, I think Matt gets that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one, I reckon. How about... We'll see. This is probably one of my favourite matchups of the week.
Yeah, I like it. This is probably my closest.
The Sossos versus the Donkeys.
Yeah, that's it.
The Sossos v the Donkeys. I'll tell you what, has this donkey, he's got a pretty small Sosso after his trade this week. Yeah. But let's have a look at this matchup. I mean...
I think bring up Nick's team, because I think when you look at Nick's team, you can see why the O'Meara trade works in his favour. So I actually thought he traded Tuke Miller, not Brad Crouch. So actually that might not be as good as I originally thought. So he's kept Tuke Miller, traded out Brad Crouch, and replaced him with O'Meara. So he still has to...
So does O'Meara go... Is he a midfielder or is he in the forward line?
He's a midfielder.
Midfielder. So who comes into the forward line for him?
He doesn't have one, so he's going to have to play... He's going to have to field Dalhouse or Lob or a free agent.
Yeah, all right. Oh, and I forgot to go back on this trade. Who's Harry going to drop from his team?
Good question. We'll come to that at the end after these 2 games. But yeah, that is a good question there. So, but Nick Lee's made an interesting move there. I don't know if it makes his team immediately better. It might turn out to be a good trade, might not, but I don't think you can look at it and say yes or no for now.
Yeah.
Tyler's not got a great team though, so I have to go with Nick this week.
I'm gonna back just because I am fucking disgusted in his trade.
Mm.
I'm going.
He's gonna pay the price then, doesn't he?
I'm gonna back Tyler. I'm gonna back the Sossos.
Yeah. Well, that is a good defense.
And that defense, elite. Midfield, terrible.
Yeah.
But I reckon someone is gonna go absolutely ham. I'm looking at Lockie Hunter round one. I reckon Lockie Hunter is going to go ham this week.
Yeah, okay.
And
well, Cochrana's got Carlton again. The Richmond boys are going to have a field day, so
it should be very interesting.
So you're going Tyler?
Yeah, I'm going to go Tyler there. Last game of the week, JTFC versus Liam. I'm a bit disappointed with yourself and Liam in team names.
Yeah, we need to be slightly more creative.
I reckon we can think of something more creative for next week.
Typically I'm Cappy's cookies, so I think I might just change to that one.
The cookies. Liam?
Yeah,
sort your team out.
With this team, Liam's team, looking at it, he was stiff to have Hogan, misrun one with clinical anxiety, apparently.
Yeah, what a load.
I haven't seen the video. He's gacked as fuck in a Santa suit with his pants around his ankles on that Saturday night, so I don't think that's quite true. I've heard a rumour he actually got a rib injury driving home from that night.
Yeah, there's a few little stories floating about. It could, I'm not surprised Liam drafted him, to be honest. Once Liam gets on the fierce, he goes a bit AA.
That's true. So there's a donut that he's going to have to cover. Sandilands isn't playing for the first few weeks, which is a donut he's going to have to cover. His back line worries me.
Yeah.
Tom Jonas, key defender.
Luke Hodge,
Harbrow, probably 65.
I mean, they could have some kickouts between those two.
They could. They very well could. Pierce Hanley at Gold Coast typically, and Witherden at Brisbane, but they'll take some too. But they're just old, and they're just not relevant Supercoach scorers now.
And he's got St Kilda heavy bench. That worries me.
You know what? That is a fantastic bench, and because he was auto picking, it just went straight to midfielders. He's got Seb Ross,
Josh Kennedy on his bench.
Steele and Josh Kennedy. And Jack Steele, to me, could be a massive breakout contender. But Seb Ross that's the best midfield. And if you don't have a good midfield, I would be looking at Liam's team and trying to get one of those boys off his bench. Steele, Ross, Josh, JPK. That's where your money's at.
See, I feel a swing in a lot of the other teams was to get coverage in the forward and backs. Because that's where the holes are. That's where people are going to find. So that's why this team, which auto-selected, has gone full of midfielders. Yeah. Because all the best players in the draft weren't being selected by the best players, by the people that were there. Because everyone's looking for coverage for forward and back because they're the hard positions. Midfielders, there's heaps of quality.
True, but I mean, what's the difference between a bench forward and a waiver forward? There's going to be 2 or 3 points, I think, average per game. So. He's got currency there. He's got trade value. So I don't really mind that. Obviously, he didn't do it on purpose, but if you need a midfielder, that team's got midfielders for days. There's 8 quality midfielders.
Jack Steven, we're not too sure about, but I can't believe Josh Kennedy, where he got picked.
Yeah, I agree.
Liam, well drafted or pre-order selected because you've done very well there. And I think that wraps up all of the matchups. It's going to be a big week. Now let's go back to what we were saying about Harry. Harry's got some decisions to make because he's got 2 players coming in extra than he's given out.
Yeah, so he's going to drop 2 players, and he'll have to do that. I think tomorrow, or he might have already had to have done it, and it hasn't gone through yet. So,
rumor on the street is he's looking to trade. Who was it? Charlie Curnow. And there was one other, maybe Johannesson.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, no, Scott Lycett. That's who we chucked in the group chat. Will he be getting rid of those guys, or is he trying to get something a little bit valuable
I think
before he drops them?
Looking at that, I'd get rid of Ebert and Curnow like that. I mean, Johannesson could go big. Lycett's going to, if Ryder doesn't play, be the number 1 ruck, and number 1 rucks always score well. So I'd be getting rid of those 2. But Harry's a loose unit. He's a bit of a retard when it comes to Supercoach. Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do. We don't know.
There's the final siren.
That's
It's been a pleasure,
Yeah,
Kappa.
good week. I'm actually just drafting up a trade right now, so
Oh, yeah? Oh, watch this space.
yeah, watch the space.
We're going to try to do this every week. We'll
Yeah.
get on some special guests. We'll have
Absolutely.
some segments. We'll be going through what happened in the last week, who's traded for who's picked up who in the waivers. So, all right, stay active. The more you're active, the more you get mentioned.
That's true.
And it'll all be a bit of fun. And also, pay me some money. $25.
Well, best of luck this week, fellas.
And we'll be out.